This episode of Wardogs, our podcast, is brought to you by Wardogs NFT. We are three dumb digs aiming to make a huge difference in the Web3 space. For more information regarding our Wardogs NFT project, head to our socials, Wardogs_NFT on both Instagram and Twitter, and our website, www.wardogsnftrange.com. The Wardogs Hour podcast aims to inspire people by sharing real-life experiences and what possibilities we have at our fingertips using our connections, skills and disciplines learned from our time in the military. Let's spin some mad worries and have a laugh.
Hi, boys. I have a question for the men. What the fuck do you want? What is it? I can't figure it out.
Our guest today joined the Army in 1999, serving in 1 RR and deploying to East Timor. Since getting out of the Green Machine, he has started a multi-award-winning Moffat Beach Brewing Company here in Queensland's Sunshine Coast. He was the first person I thought of when we decided to do this podcast on Vetraprenaurs, and he also employs veterans, which gives us at the Wardogs team massive hard-ons. With all that being said, Matty Wilson, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Mate, thanks for coming on and thanks for having us at your brewery today. It's a bit more of a scenic location compared to the den we're normally in, so it's good to be on lock.
And we have refreshments, which is always good.
Yeah.
Always.
Well, kicking things off, mate, we find there's usually a fairly common theme with the type of people who sign up to serve, especially grunts. But do you just want to touch on what your childhood was like and what sort of kid you were growing up?
Yeah, mate, I had a pretty good childhood. I grew up in rural New South Wales, a little town called Gunnedah. One of our neighbours was Miranda Kerr.
Oh, nice.
No, I didn't, Shagger.
Yeah. Next question, coming straight after that. Yeah.
But, yeah, look, it was pretty good growing up out there. My dad was a local stock and station agent. Mum was a nurse. I was around cattle and horses, all my childhood. I was pretty big into my footy. Played heaps and heaps of footy, and then I went to boarding school in Sydney.
Yeah. And do you think you're generally a good kid, staying out of trouble?
Oh, pretty normal, you know. Like, I always got in a bit of shit. I was always pretty cheeky, but nothing major. I wasn't a rat bag. Like, probably got in more trouble at boarding school than what I did back home in Gunny. But
well, when you're just surrounded by other teenage boys, it's bound to happen.
Yeah.
The early stage of testosterone.
That's it, mate.
The perks of boarding school, I guess.
So you joined up in 99?
Yeah, so I left school and I was a half-decent footballer. It wasn't a world beater, but I left school. I had like a couple of years in Sydney playing footy, and I played for Gordon Rugby Club. They got me a job working as the mail boy in a stockbroking firm. I pretty soon realised that my ambition far exceeded my ability when it came to being playing footy. And as a kid, I was always mad on guns and armies and stuff. My favourite movie as a kid was Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando. Yeah. And so I joined up, and it was like a duck to water for me. Probably being at boarding school for 6 years, I didn't struggle with Kapuka or anything. I just sort of breezed through that, and Singo as well. And then, I got posted to 1RAR, which was... I actually thought that there was waves and stuff up there, but no, there's not.
There's absolutely zero by waves and crocodiles that would smash you. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Were you keen for Townsville, or you didn't care?
I didn't really care. I think because when I went through Singo, they gave you like a choice of three.
Yeah.
Where you wanted to go, and I think I put down one. I think I put down 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. Okay.
And, I didn't really care.
A lot of thought went into
it. And they sent me to one. Half of our I was in bin bar platoon. Half of our platoon went to which was 5-7 then, and the other half went to 1.
Yeah, cool.
I think they just sent us where they needed blokes.
Yeah, always.
So there was no arguing, because we've heard from a lot of people, especially grunts, when they say, "Oh, where you're going," people got real disgruntled and whatnot. I know with us, it was a lot of us got sent to 5-hour, and a lot of people were pretty disgruntled at that. They were swapping and changing and trying to beg with the sergeant where they wanted to go and whatnot.
I can't remember, mate. It was over 20 years ago.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. And look, it could have been a lot different back then too. People probably accepted where they were fucking going instead of whinging and that they're not getting a Brisbane posting, which was, very common, I think, with our generation of grunts.
Yeah, look, I was happy to go up to Townsville. I'd never been there before.
Yep.
It was probably a bit of an adventure. I heard that I played a bit of footy as well, so I was looking forward to that. But I didn't join up to play footy. I joined up to be a grunt. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So, I was happy to go up there. I would have been happy to probably go to Brisbane or Sydney or Darwin as well. Probably less so Sydney, because my family at that stage were living in Newcastle, and man, I know Sydney. I didn't really want to live there.
Yeah, you want to adventure out of the outside of your home area a little bit.
I was the same, dude. Growing up in Sydney, I didn't want to be there.
No.
So, and then you deployed to Timor twice.
Yep.
Anything stand out? Any stories? They don't have to be worries. We love funny ones just as much as the violent ones.
Got a couple of funny stories. So my first trip, I just went in rifle company. I was in a platoon Charlie company. Jim that works for me here was in that same platoon. And, for us, it was probably the sort of first big deployment since Vietnam. So it was pretty exciting at that time. There were a couple of Somalia veterans in the battalion when I was there, but not a whole heap of them. And a lot of them were probably more senior NCOs, not junior NCOs, definitely no diggers. It was probably the first sort of big trip that anyone had done. So it was pretty exciting. I was very, very green. I'd done, I did my IATs, and then I did a Tully trip, and because I was a Jube, I did another Canungra trip, and then pretty much we went over. So I was on the gun for that trip, but yeah.
Is that Interfet?
No. Interfet was before us. I think it was called Untayed or something like that. So we were we were after.
Yep.
Interfet, yeah.
So you landed your first gig within a year of being in the battalion.
Yep.
Yeah, mad.
Yeah.
That's good going.
Yeah, it was good.
Yep.
And I was a young kid too. I was 21, 22. You come back with a few bucks, spend it all.
See you later.
Yeah.
But I suppose what was, and it was a peacekeeping role. It wasn't war or anything like it.
Yep.
It was a peacekeeping role, and we were there to help the Timorese. But I remember, cockfighting was a big thing over there. They had the roosters, so we actually bought a chicken, bought a rooster, and we fed it creatine and all the scraps from the cookies.
Get it jacked up.
We got this thing jacked up, and we put it in a box with a strobe light, and this thing wanted to come out and just fucking kill
We're going to have fun explaining this to Peter on the podcast. That'll be great, Did it win? That's the big question.
It did win, and we took all the money off these people we were supposed to.
Yeah, good.
And I think the chook's name was Seth, but he did later die from a sucking chest wound. So.
Okay. Yeah.
And barbecued or?
I can't remember, man. No, I think we just chucked him. Apart from that, mate, it was a long time ago. It's over 20 years ago now, so I don't remember that so much. But my second trip, I was in recon platoon.
Yeah.
And we worked pretty hard on that second trip. We were just a lot of patrolling along the border there. Yeah. We were doing 5 days out on patrol, and then we come back, have a couple of days off, and then go back out again. But yeah, probably one of the funny stories from that was we got 5 days R&R in Dili,
Oh, nice, yeah.
and we were told no booze, don't eat any of the local food.
Throwaway lines, though. Yeah.
So we drove out and we found this little bar on the beach
Yeah.
overlooking the water, and there was an Aussie chick married to a Timorese bloke who were running it, and so we just set up. We had 2 radios. We set up a fast car out, and we just did a rolling picket. If anyone came in, we'd just radio it in.
Yeah.
No one came out there, but we went out there every day. We were drinking Coronas, and they had these massive big prawns that they'd cook up. And
Yeah, epic.
Brownie, one of the boys, said to old mate who was running, he said, "Can you get some massage girls in here for us?" He goes, "Yeah, no drama." So anyway, these four chicks come out on mopeds, and Brownie goes, I'm going first. And anyway, he goes in to have a massage. Apparently she rolled him over, and he's had a massive stiffy, and she goes, "Oh, no, wrong massage."
Not this time. Yeah.
He's come out of the room and go, "Oh, and it's a hoax, boys."
We've been stitched up.
Yeah, those blue balls will last for the rest of the trip.
Everyone's there hoping for the happy endings, and it's just a dull ending. Yeah.
Just need that release.
Thanks for coming. But it's still a good time, though.
Yeah, it was. And I'm still, as I'm sure you blokes are, like really, really good mates with most of the blokes that I serve with. One of my best mates works with me. I did 6 years of boarding school. I'm much better mates with the blokes I was in the green with and the guys that I went to school with.
Yeah, funny you say that. We were just having that conversation on the way down here, actually, in the car, about how, we don't really interact with our schoolmates anymore, and, it's just the army dudes we pretty much interact with now.
Yeah. I've got civvy mates.
Yeah,
but there's a few of us living here on the coast as well.
Yeah.
So we do catch up quite a lot, and it's awesome. Probably more so now that I'm living here on the coast than when I was living in Sydney before we moved here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And did what made you move? Oh, well, firstly, I will ask that question. What made you move from Sydney to the sunny coast? Was it the attraction of the sunny coast? Because it is a big attraction even me and Tom talk about it every day, that, the sunny coast it's got a lifestyle, I guess.
Yeah, probably part of it. It's probably maybe go into my transition out of the army. Probably will, and then flow into it.
Yeah. I was thinking we might just back it up a little bit. So, how many years did you end up spending in?
Got in sort of 99, and then I got out end of 2005, around 2005.
Because you wanted to?
Yeah. I didn't get kicked out, that's for sure. But look, I sort of wanted to take a year off. Before that second trip, I actually applied to do selection.
Yeah.
And I was going to give up that second trip and just focus on doing selection. But we all know what an admin nightmare the army can be.
Yeah.
They lost my forms.
Yeah, that doesn't sound shocking at all.
Yeah.
So I missed out on that, and I tried to, get it redressed and whatnot, and they said, sorry. So I was going to miss out on selection, and then I was going to miss out on the trip.
Yep.
So I was lucky that our platoon sergeant at the time, Buck Rogers,
legend,
went into bat for me, and he got me on the trip. So it probably helped. I think one of the other lads fucked up on the piss as well. So
I know that feeling.
Yeah. So I ended up taking his spot, I think. So I got a little bit disillusioned with that sort of when that happened, because I just thought, how unorganised can these guys be? And I put so much of my sort of effort into training, and I was just so focused on it. And then when I went and did that trip, had a pretty good trip, but I was involved in one incident which was probably a bit of a funny story as well. So on my leave, on my rockall, I flew back, had 2 weeks off, had a fat time.
Yeah.
And I was at Mum's in Newcastle, and the night that I was due to catch the plane back to Darwin, there was this massive, like, cyclonic event. And disclaimer, I did get on the piss the night before with my mates. But this massive cyclonic event happened, and I ended up, like, it was just, rain was coming in sideways, and I missed my flight back to Darwin.
Yeah.
And I tried everything to get another plane from Newcastle to Darwin to match up with my RAFI flight that was going to Dili. No dice. Then I've made the uncomfortable phone call to whoever, and got a bit of an arse chewing.
Oh, I bet you did.
And then, so then they got me on another flight to Dili, and then I ended up, another flight to Darwin, and then I got another flight by myself on a RAF plane from Darwin to Dili.
You're that fuck up. The pilots are looking at it. Oh, that's him.
Yeah. And so anyway, I got in there, and then I was charged with AWOL because I missed my place of parade, which was Newcastle Airport. And Maxie Walker, who was good mate of mine, still is. He was the platoon sergeant of SIG platoon, and he fancied himself as a bit of a bush lawyer. And he's gone, mate, I'll get you out of this. He said, I reckon you should plead not guilty. So,
that's great advice.
I was still a digger at this stage, and so they've marched me in, and you get charged. Everyone pleads guilty. You just take it on the chin. Yeah. And then they've gone, how do you plead? And I've gone, not guilty, sir. And then the major who was officiating goes, what do we do now? So they marched me out, and the Lance Jack who marched me in there goes, mate, you got balls of steel doing that. He goes, I've never seen that. So they were in there, they were discussing what to do for the next 45 minutes. Then they marched me back in, and then old mate just goes, look, I totally understand that there were extenuating circumstances, but the fact of the matter is you were absent without leave, therefore finding you guilty. However, the punishment that I'm going to give you is very lenient. You got 5 days extra duty in the mess.
Oh, that's all right.
So I've logged up to the mess to do my extras, and the cookie sergeant, I report to him and I said, what do you want me to do, Sarge? He goes, mate, this will be the easiest fucking time you ever do in your life. He said the LECs, the locals, he said they do everything. The only thing they're not allowed to touch is the knives. You just got to clean them up. He said, go and have a feed with your mates. We'll see you at the end.
Oh, sensational.
So I'm sitting there, and all the boys, Jimmy, Dave Connery and Campo and that, and Bubbles, they go, so what did you get, Wilson? I said, mate, I have made an absolute mockery of the whole army legal system. And then I get this kick in the legs, and I'm just going, fuck. And right behind me was the RSM and the CO.
Good.
Within 20 minutes, I was in front of the RSM, Mr. Potato Head, we used to call him. And he gave me the best face ripping that you've ever seen in your life. One of the phrases I recall was, you are a fucking smart ass, over and over again. So then the CO, and we used to call him Lord Farquhar off Shrek, because he was a small little fucker. He came out and just said your rights were impinged upon when they sent you out of the room, and they talked about your future without you there, which is unfair on you. We're going to quash that charge and then recharge you.
Oh, far
and then I said, oh, sir, I'm pretty happy with the outcome. He said, I bet you fucking are, Private Wilson.
Yeah.
They recharged me, and I was a bit shitty about that. And then we were at the range, and then this one's pretty hard for me to talk about. I actually had a UD at the range.
Oh, shit.
And I really prided myself on my sort of, my weaponship and whatnot. And I took that pretty hard. And then I got charged for that. So I just took it all on the chin then. They hit me with a pretty big fine. No chance of promotion for, the next 2 years or something, or 18 months or something like that, which I took that on the chin. And then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to get out for a year, maybe get back in. I was probably pretty keen to get back in, but I thought I'll just take a year off and then see what happens. So I did. I put my discharge in. I stayed in for another bit after that, actually, probably another year and a bit. So it is a long time ago, so I can't remember all of the dates. I think I did a trip to Hawaii somewhere. But then, I got out because I still had my heart set on doing selection. But with those charges hanging over my head, I thought I'm going to have to sort of wait some time.
Yeah.
Then I got out and I thought that I'd, spend a year just in civvy land and then get back in. And then I managed to, because I worked in a stockbroking firm when I was out, I just sent my resume off to pretty much every stockbroking firm in Sydney. And, this one guy probably just saw the army shit in there and thought it looked pretty cool. So I got a job as his assistant. And then I ended up working for him for probably 5 years.
Yeah, wow.
His name is Andrew Manchie. Really good guy. I learned a lot off him. That's how I met my wife as well, through him.
Yeah.
And then, I never went back. So I ended up being this guy. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I was his bitch. So I was Manch's bitch for about 5 years, and then and I loved it. It was good. I was getting on the piss after work, and
it would be a fast-paced sort of environment too.
And my job was I was what you call a DTR, or designated trading representative. So, and I passed all my exams to get that ticket. So Manch would get the orders, and they'd come in, and then I would actually execute the trades for them.
Okay.
It was good fun. I learned a lot. But then the firm that we were working for merged with another firm, and we both got made redundant. So by this stage, I'd gotten married. We had 2 kids, and I was going to find it really, really tough to find another gig in that industry because I had no qualifications.
Yeah.
I pretty much joined grunts and that's it. I had a Bachelor of Bullocks and that was it.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't heard that before.
They really set
Bullocks.
us up for success afterwards, but
Great term.
And I had experience working with Manch in that gig, but that was sort of it. And there was a lot of kids coming out of uni and whatnot, and GFC had happened not that long before, so jobs were pretty tight in that. And my wife, Shazzy, she had only just sort of gone back to her role. She was doing the same sort of thing after being on maternity leave for almost 3 years. So, she wanted to get out of Sydney, and she found that little place on the beach at Moffat Beach, which was a cafe, and she said, look, let's move here, and this cafe's for sale. It's on the water. It looks pretty cool. And I went, what the fuck do I know about running a cafe? But anyway, we strapped our nuts on and gave it a crack.
And that's how Moffat Beach was born?
Pretty much, yeah. So, and it definitely wasn't an easy slog. Like, I remember, we had I can't remember how old the kids were, but they were young, babies. I just remember driving up the Pacific Highway going, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, it's a huge, to pick up the family from what was, somewhat being comfortable, and then to make that call, that's big balls, man.
Yeah, but at the time we were pretty excited about it as well.
Yeah.
We both love food and eating out and stuff, and just that classic sea change thing. We thought that we'd be able to pull it off. Shaz had always, she'd had a fair bit of hospitality sort of experience, so she'd worked in cafes and bars and stuff growing up. Still not, it's no sort of, doesn't prepare you for actually owning one of these things and running it. But yeah, we just rolled our sleeves up and we did it ourselves. So we didn't even have a liquor license to start with, so we just started just slinging coffees. I was the barista, Shaz was pretty much the chef. And then we realised we needed a chef, so we got a guy on. And then, we were pretty forceful about the type of food that we wanted cooked, and quality was at the forefront of everything that we did from day one. And it just went from there. But probably a light bulb moment came because the place that we inherited, the guy went broke. It was filthy. We gave it a bit of a paint, a clean, and it was a Sunday, and we'd just gotten a 6-pack of 4 pints pale ale from the bottle around at Dicky Beach, and we sat out at one of the benches out the front, and it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday. There were people everywhere, and the 2 cafes on either side of us started packing up around people, and we went, why is no one serving piss here?
Yeah.
There was nowhere to get a beer, and we just thought, you're overlooking the ocean. All you need is a couple of beers on tap, some bloke playing a guitar, it'd pump.
Yeah.
And that's what we did, you know. The first thing we did was... I know I was a big fan of 4 Pints beers at that time. We used to catch the ferry over to Manly and go and have some beers there, and they had a little brew kit in their system, and that's where we got the... inspiration for what we've done. We said, how cool would it be to have like a little place with some brewing your own beers and stuff like that? So initially we got in like a kegerator, which 4 Pines supplied us. So it was just one keg, and it went off. And then I rang up their sales rep. I said, man, I need another one of these things. So he gave me another one, and then we just couldn't keep up to it. So then we put in a 6-tap system. And then I started brewing beer at home to educate myself on what it was that we were, what we were selling.
Yeah.
And then it became an obsession and took over the whole garage. I was brewing like on my days off. And then my missus just said, look, the beers at home are tasting pretty good, just as good as anything that we're buying in. Maybe we look at putting in a little brew kit up the backs, because there was this dead spot there where the brewery is, where no one sat, because everyone wants to sit and look at the ocean.
Exactly,
no one wanted to, like, the only time anyone ever sat in there was when it was Christmas time when we were getting reamed. So we just begged, borrowed and stole, and we put this little brew kit in, and that's how it started.
So it was your missus that... Because I was going to ask, like, we've all got mates who fucking make horrible homebrew. Again, another fucking ballsy decision to be like, why don't I just do my own thing? Because that was fairly early in the Aussie craft scene, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we took over the shop in the end of 2012. So it would have been... I think we took the keys to it in November 2012, and we opened up on the 10th of December 2012. And then, then I did my first homebrew in 2013.
Wow.
So, but I was lucky. Like, we were buying quite a bit of beer at this stage. So we had Stone and Wood on tap. We had 4 Pines. We had Murray's, which is from down the Port Stephens.
Yeah.
We had Moo Brew from down in Tassie, and then we had Mount Macedon Pale Ale, which is from Holgate. And we're buying a little bit of beer off these guys. And the guys at Holgate were doing a brew demonstration day at Archive Beer Boutique in Brisbane. They gave me a free ticket to go and have a look, and I saw them do it, and I went, I can fucking do this.
Yep.
So I ended up buying the kit, and the sales rep for Holgate at the time was a mad homebrewer as well, and I just used to ring him up for some advice. There wasn't a whole lot on the internet at this stage about it, like it hadn't kicked off.
Yeah, well,
it has now.
I think back then, like, I was still well and truly a VB drinker in those days, and it was a few years later even where, like, I don't reckon 2012 I'd even heard of what craft beer was.
No, well, I fell into it, basically.
Yeah.
But, I just started brewing at home, and like, there was some shit, don't worry.
Yeah.
But I treated it like a job. So Tuesday was my day off because we worked weekends or hospitality thing. So Tuesday was my day off, and I would get my shit together, and I'd do 2 or 3 brews in that day, and I was developing these recipes. I'm a pretty driven person, and I just made it happen.
Were you super particular, like writing everything down, like to the gram, like measure everything and then record everything?
Yep.
So you were self-taught pretty much on how to brew beer, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's impressive.
I don't know. We're all good at something. It just took me until I was almost 40 to work out what it was. You know? And look, I've just fallen into my niche, and it's worked for us. But in saying that, the beer at home was a lot better than the beer that we were making on a professional scale for a long time. Like it took me a long time, probably at least 6 months, to scale that system up, because it wasn't just a matter of just timesing it in a linear fashion.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Because the kettle was a lot bigger.
Yeah.
The hops were isomerizing a lot quicker and a lot more powerfully. So
You're going to have to dumb it down.
The first couple of beers were like fucking paint stripper.
So you just can't go from 20 litres to 2,000 litres and times it by 100.
No.
It doesn't go up in a linear fashion. It goes up parabolic, doesn't it?
You can on the grain, but on the hops you couldn't.
Yeah.
So it took me 6 months to dial it in.
Yep.
But my missus said you can't drink anything else except the shit that you're producing until you get it to the standard. So that made me learn it pretty quick.
Yeah.
But then we started entering into a couple of competitions, not because we thought we were going to win anything, but for the feedback that you get, because it's unfiltered feedback.
Yeah.
So, and these competitions, they're all done, they're judged blind. So the judges have no idea who's produced that beer. They know that it's a pale ale or a lager or a stout or whatnot, and they judge it across those guidelines, but they don't know where it's come from. So it is unfiltered, unfettered feedback that you're getting.
Very unbiased too.
Yeah. And it's not your mates going, yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, just trying
And they
to...
get in their car and go, fuck that shit.
Yeah.
So we entered the first competition, which was the Australian Craft Beer Awards, which was in Brisbane. And we entered it because it was just down the road. We thought, well, let's give it a crack. And the feedback was pretty brutal that I got. Like, they ripped into me, and there was faults in all these beers. And I didn't get disgruntled. I didn't get, what would they know? I took that advice and I went to work and I just did my research and I worked on fixing where I was letting myself down. And then the one big one was oxidation.
Yeah.
So oxygen's the enemy. You can't let the beer come into contact with oxygen. It's like if you're having a big night and you're slamming down some VBs and they're tasting awesome, and then you fall asleep with a full one, and then you wake up the next morning and you taste it and it's shit.
Yeah.
That's because the oxygen's got to it and it's oxidised.
Yeah, okay.
So somewhere in my process, the beer was coming into contact with oxygen.
I think VB must have oxygen in it all the time then, mate.
But, and I worked that out, and we kept entering these awards and improving the beers each time. And then in 2018, and all these beers were being brewed on the little kit, we ended up winning champion small brewery in Australia, and we ended up winning champion session beer at the national awards, which...
That's huge.
It blew us away. I was down there with my missus, and we were like, what? And then... everyone was going, who the fuck are these guys? But that actually gave us the sort of the launch pad to do what we've done here now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because because it's a little kid over there, and we were just running out of beer. We just could not keep up, especially after those awards, because people were coming in and going, oh, we want to try the champion beer. And it's only a little 300-litre system. We thought that would be us for life. We're just knocking out some beers on the beach and, having a fat time. But then we started getting demand for it. We were actually having to buy beer in from other breweries to fill the taps.
Yeah,
selling out of it, which is a good problem to have, but
Yeah.
it's still a problem, because there was one stage at one Christmas, we had only one of our beers on tap at Christmas time, and people don't want to come into a brewery and drink someone else's
Exactly,
beer. So
yeah.
that's when we started doing a bit of research and development to put in this production facility.
And then you went and flashed your big balls again and decided to do this during COVID.
Yeah. Well, we didn't decide to do it during COVID. We started planning for the new one in 2018. So Shaz and I flew to Shanghai. There's a big brewing equipment expo that was on there. It's held every 2 years, called CBB, China Brewing and Beverage Expo. I think that's what it's called. But it was just sensory overload. There were like 5 massive hangars, and each hangar's like 3 times the size of this.
Yeah.
Just filled.
And for those that don't know, we are in a big shed at the moment. What's this?
Yeah, it's a pretty big shed.
600 squares or something?
1,100 squares.
1,100, so double what I just guessed. So it is a big shed.
Yeah, I'm probably underselling how big these hangars were. And it was just filled with stainless. It was just sensory overload. But we just figured we'd go there and see what equipment was good and what wasn't, because we had all of these equipment manufacturers in the one spot at the one time. We weren't super happy with, because we used an Australian company to start with a little brewery. We weren't super happy with them. We paid through the nose for it, having done it once. And he just went to China and got the kit and then brought it in. And
That's a shame that he did that. Yeah.
Well, they all do it.
It's business, yeah.
But I just thought, well, I know what I'm doing. This is my trade now. I can go and do that myself.
Yeah.
And we saved like at least 150 grand. So yeah, we went over there and we were happy to probably get a quote off 5 different manufacturers. And then the guys we went with just hit that sweet spot with quality and price. So we paid the deposit. They started work on it. In that meantime, we had one site fall through. The owner of we'd pretty much signed a intention to lease. The owner of that land sold that land, which was in the industrial estate at Moffat Beach. We would have loved to have stayed there, truly local, but he sold the land to someone else, so that ended up falling through. So we had to put the brakes on with the Chinese because we had to find a new site. Then we found this site. We had some issues with council, and then our kit was pretty much 90% finished over in China, and then COVID hit them first, and they were shut down. And we had this big shed here, and no income to pay for it.
Yeah.
And we were really, really lucky that our landlord here is extremely reasonable.
Yep.
So they helped us out there and were very, very lenient. But then, COVID hit here as well, and then some. I don't do any of the business side of things. My missus does all that. But then some government legislation came through, which then made it easier for everyone. JobKeeper definitely helped. And then, in the middle of COVID, they opened back up again. They didn't have a whole lot to do on our kit, and then it got sent out here. So it was probably a little bit of a blessing in disguise because we weren't really running the other business at all. We were just doing takeaways out of there.
Yeah.
And that allowed me to focus on putting this together. The one thing, though, was that the Chinese were supposed to come out and commission it and put it all together.
Yeah, okay.
And obviously they weren't allowed in the country, so I had to do it. And it was, it's fucking IKEA Olympics.
It's IKEA on steroids. Yeah.
But, I didn't do it all myself. We had... we had tradesmen do the electrical stuff and plumbers did all the plumbing and that. All of this metal pipe work, I put all that together. I got it all square and whatnot. I'm no tradie, but there's nothing like the threat of going broke to make you learn something quick.
Oh, yeah.
And, look, we all got it in, had plenty of help from mates and stuff. There were a few frustrating moments. There was a few beers that went down range as well.
A couple of mil off on a couple of things.
I think we did a pretty good job. We got it together.
It looks good. It's brewing kit in this form is quite aesthetic on the eye. When you're looking at it, it's really impressive.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're very happy with it. We did make a conscious decision to make that kit part of being in here. We wanted it to dominate this area.
Yeah.
In 2019, we went on a family holiday to Canada and the States, and it was a research and development trip. We wanted to, we went skiing, but we also went and looked at plenty of breweries and stuff. And one of the things that I took out from that trip, whilst a lot of the beers were awesome, and the venues were awesome too, a lot of the time their brew kits were in like a separate room, and it might as well have been in just another pub.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make this a showpiece and part of it. And when we're in here brewing and stuff, you can see that people get a kick out of it because they can see us working away. And you can
And the smell,
it.
yeah. I love the smell.
Yeah. Yeah. And so with like all the sort of hardships that you've had, has there been, we like to talk about big moments of failure and, getting yourself out of it.
Yep.
Is there anything that comes to mind where you've just, you've failed so hard and you're like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, look, probably going back a bit to when I first got out, I really struggled for probably sort of 18 months to 2 years. And it was probably more, you go from being, top dog in what you're doing to no one.
Yep. Yeah.
And especially, and I think, I hope that the Defence Force is a bit better now, but when I got out, there was no support whatsoever. There was no retraining or anything like that. Like, there was no assistance in going and doing a TAFE course or getting into uni or anything like that. It was ta-da, see ya.
Yeah.
So I hope that has changed. And I went from, being in recon platoon and I thought I was pretty good at my job to being no one. I was brickies labouring for a little bit and so I really struggled with that.
Yeah.
I was on the verge of just getting straight back in as well, but I didn't. Sometimes I sometimes think, what if I had have gotten back in? I would have loved it. But I'm pretty happy with my lot now. So.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have this. But like I say, I see it's fairly common that first 18 months, 2 years is that's when you got to keep an eye out on people because that's that pivotal time where they're trying to figure out what the fuck they're going to do, and it's pretty easy to end up in a hole.
Oh, big time. And I'll put my hand up straight away. And mate, I was drinking too much. I was, having a good time, but probably I was having a great time, but not a good time, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I wasn't looking after my head or myself, or I was single at the time, or my parents were probably really worried about me.
Yeah.
And I'm not Robinson Crusoe there. I think that happens to most
Mate,
blokes.
I would say I would say 90% of dudes with that, and it's all to do with not having a plan when you're leaving, and a lot of people hastily chuck their discharge in thinking, fuck it, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I think that's the complete wrong thing to do because you do end up in these situations like all three of us sitting here at that table. We all did the same thing.
Yeah.
You lose your purpose, you get on the piss, you get on whatever, everyone does, and you lose your way for a couple of years, I'd say. I would say nearly all my mates have done the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
The same thing. And it is very hard to get out of. So, we always say this on this podcast as well. You got to have a fucking plan before you leave the military now. You were just talking about how they don't, in your day, really have a plan for you after the Defence Force. I would say they don't at the moment as well. But for those that are listening, if you want to figure out how you can get those benefits out of the military, by all means hit us up and we can steer you in the right direction to get those benefits of going down the university line, the TAFE line and the job line now as well.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing because you are institutionalised into that way of life, and it's hard to get out of it. And
it's super, super hard to get out of.
That's the other thing too, because I'm full institutionalised. I went boarding school from the age of 12.
Oh yeah, even more so, yeah.
And then most of my 20s I was in the army. I've really got to watch the way that I speak to people in the workplace as well. I'm a lot better at it than what I was. But I've had a few people walk out. Just I'm direct by nature.
Yeah.
I don't mean anything by it, but I'm a lot better than what I was. Although I will say my missus can be a bit harder than me. Anyway,
I think we can all agree there that it's a bit hard, especially on ourselves,
Yeah.
Come down on us, yeah.
And then what, like, getting to where you are, like, has there been any skills from the army that you've been able to translate into becoming the success that you are today?
Yeah, look, the work ethic, absolutely. Just the discipline to do things properly.
Yeah.
Excuse me, just burping. Yeah, that has definitely sort of helped. You know, we've all been out bush on a stomp and where things are, you know, your back's sore and you just got to push through it. If I've got to stay here and do something,
Yep.
I will. I don't care. I'll come in on the weekend and work. I don't care.
Yeah.
Probably that, you know, that work ethic and just being able to get the job done. You know, not jacking on your mates as well.
Yeah.
You know, staying behind. Like I'm the boss, but
Yeah.
I won't have my blokes come in and work on the weekend. Like I'll do that if it's shit that needs to be done. Just things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably just the discipline, I suppose. And look, I wasn't the most disciplined guy in the world. Like I got into shit a little bit when I was in, but it definitely has helped, you know, with just getting shit done.
Yeah, and just embracing the suck.
Yeah.
Like, you still have a whinge about it, but you just whinge while you're working. You don't have to.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, like some you know, kids that I've worked with in CV life, they'll just whinge and not do anything, just down tools.
Yeah, I find in, you know, my outside businesses that I work a lot harder and longer as well, because I think I understand a bit of pain a bit better than what civvies do. But then you get that as a business owner anyway, because you always, you know, you've got to be the example and no one's ever going to be up to your standards, I guess, so.
That is right.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't have to walk through the scrub anymore.
No, 100%. Hey, saying that, I got bitten by 5 bees the other day walking through scrub, fucking sorting a Renault out, and I was well off it.
That would have been fun.
I was fucking off it.
I was there.
I swear I left this bush shit ages ago.
So, dude, from here, what are the plans for the future? Like, can you go bigger? What do you want to do?
Look, we are at a point now where it's really hard to sort of invest more capital into this because it's have a look here. There's a lot of money going into this.
Yeah.
And cash flow at the moment is like we're growing really, really quickly. We're getting beers out into Southeast Queensland is where we're sort of concentrating on at the moment. You know, I think we've just picked up 42 Dan stores in Southeast Queensland, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And we're in a lot of independents and stuff, but the beer industry it is crowded. There are a lot of breweries in the nation now, and then you've also got the 2 major players as well. So they tie up a lot of taps in tap contracts.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And we're all fighting over the scraps. You know, a lot of places they'll have 1 or 2 sort of swing taps, and we're all fighting for those. So it is really competitive. But look, we've just focused on getting our footprint in Southeast Queensland, and then we'll probably we've started to send a little bit of beer down to Melbourne, just into some specialist beer shops there and Sydney. So we'll just look to sort of grow on this eastern seaboard. We have taken the rest of this shed, so we've got next door as well. So we'll probably we'll move the canning line next door. So we do all of our own packaging here. We've got a little canning line that we imported from America. It does capable of doing 50 cans a minute. We run it at 30 cans a minute because we pack them down by hand. The boys can't keep up if it goes any quicker. But we'll probably move the canning line next door and put more tanks in here to increase capacity. We just put in 3 new big tanks about 6 months ago. So that's pretty much double our capacity here. We were, I think last year we did 150,000 litres. This year we're on track to do about 500,000 litres. So
it's big growth.
And by 2025, we want to be doing 1 million litres a year.
Yeah.
That's our plan. So,
Yeah.
we'll move the canning next door and put some more tanks in. The tanks is what you need. That's what slows you down. You can brew every day, but the stuff needs to ferment. So,
Yeah.
And that'd be one of your biggest costs too, I'd imagine. All the stainless.
Yeah. That is the biggest cost. Hops are pretty much the most expensive ingredient that we use.
Yeah.
And we make hoppy beers.
Yeah.
That's a big expense as well.
Delicious though.
Very, very. I guess if someone's looking at getting into the beer industry, maybe start up a hop farm. That might be the go.
Yeah, the issue here is they need a bit of a cold climate.
Yeah.
So Tassie and Victoria is where we grow most of them here in
It's like all
Australia.
land to grow
which is
now,
not huge. We get a few of them from New Zealand. That's also not a huge place.
Yeah.
Most of our hops come from the Pacific Northwest in the States. So just inland from Seattle there, a place called the Yakima Valley.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be going over there for hop harvest, but we're just too busy. I won't be able to go this year. So.
It's beyond.
Yeah.
It would be good to see, like, get back to the ground roots of, where all this stuff comes from.
Oh, yeah. Be awesome.
Yeah.
And it's tax deductible.
Yeah, I was about to say that, for veterans that are looking at starting up businesses, which we promote, you get to do these cool trips to the States and write it off in tax. So another perk of starting a business.
So, dude, we'll start to look at wrapping this up. What would your advice be for anyone who's transitioning out and maybe wanting to start a business? Do you have any tips or tricks that...
Yeah, look, one, back yourself and do it. The other one, make sure you got a plan. And the other one, make sure you got a really good support network around yourself as well. I don't think that I would be where I am today if I didn't have my missus to support me on this.
Yep.
Because she has probably been a big driving force behind, okay, you can do this, because I can have a little bit of self-doubt sometimes.
Yeah.
You need that support behind you, and whether that's your mum and dad, your mates, or your missus, you need that.
Bit of positive reinforcement.
Absolutely, but you've got to be organised and have a plan for failure. But also for success as well, And if you do fail, it's not the end of the world.
Nah.
Dust yourself off and then have another crack. This hasn't been, straight up in one line, and it still isn't, We've had blips along the way. I was just saying to Tommy before, this year for us has been a bit of a nightmare. We're busy. We're really busy, but we've got like 30 staff, and we just have not been able to find any kitchen staff. So our original site over at the beach, like, it's suffered this year because we haven't been able to attract quality kitchen staff to execute the food that we want.
Yeah.
So, surround yourself with good people. That's my number one tip, I reckon.
Yeah, and it always makes it easier to come to work too then.
Would you say that, you turned your passion into your business then as well? Or was it you sort of fell into your passion?
A bit of both. No, man, I've always loved piss.
Oh, yeah, same, yeah.
Mate,
we can all agree on that. Yeah.
When I first got to the battalion, like, I didn't even have a fucking TV in my room.
It's just beer.
Mate, I remember Nick Dalton, who was one of the secos, goes, mate, you don't even have a fucking television in here. We're taking you down to Fat Cans and you can get a TV and I'll just take it out of your pay.
Yeah.
Why would I want to do that, man? I
can't drink
it out every night.
I need to spend that on piss. There's a TV in the common room.
Yeah.
But, mate, I'm not 21 anymore either.
Yeah, exactly.
I was the same. I never had a telly. I was just... Yeah, it's just the way it was.
I'd go in and hang out in some other cunt's room. Or
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sorry for the C-bomb.
No, don't worry about swearing on here, mate. We actually trended the other day because of our swearing, so it was hilarious. Mate, I was going to say I had a TV because I had a pretty flash room on base, but then moved out.
You're always entertaining a lot of girls too.
That's a good point. Thanks for throwing that in there. I'm sure my missus will be thoroughly impressed with that.
Oh, she doesn't listen to this, mate.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Anyway, well, thanks heaps, Wilson. just tell us your Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and then, obviously.
And the Addy here.
Yeah, the address.
Give everyone the Addy, because people need to come down and see this and what you've achieved, I think, and your first location too.
Yep, so we've got 2 sites. The original one's at Moffat Beach, right on the beach, 12 Seaview Terrace. Good food there, some beers. The production facility where we are here is on 51 Caloundra Road. So,
and Instagram, do you...
we're on Instagram and Facebook.
It's just Moffat Beach.
Yeah, just Google Moffat Beach, man.
Yeah.
I'm a social media nuff.
Yeah.
I'm not on it.
You're not hard to find, put it that way.
Yeah.
It's one of the bigger breweries down here, so it's not hard to find.
Yeah, come in, say hello, try the beers. They're sensational. We've got work to do this afternoon, but I'm not sure how well that's going to go.
Probably minimal work will get done, but I do implore all our listeners, we do have a fairly big worldwide audience as well. If you're going to come to Australia, head to the Sunny Coast, head to Moffat Beach, head to Moffat Beach Brewery as well down there, and then come see the production line as well. I'm sure you'll be thoroughly impressed in what a veteran has achieved here. It was an honour to interview you today, mate. This is impressive. Nothing short of it, mate.
Thanks, boys.
So you've done well.
Cheers, bro.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks
mate.
See ya.
The Wardogs NFT mission and team and all related podcast episodes and content are provided for general information purposes only and do not constitute accounting, legal, tax or other professional advice. Visitors should not act upon the content or information found here without first seeking appropriate advice from an accountant, financial planner, lawyer or other professional.